Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a great show planned for you tonight. Gosh, it's warm out there. I'm like hiding out in the studio away from everyone, just producing shows. I'll be back tomorrow night. I have Doc from Arizona. He grew up on this ranch out there in Arizona and had several run-ins with these creatures. And later in life, he was up on the Mogollon Rim and had a very strange encounter. So definitely tune in for that tomorrow night. If you have time, come hang out. But tonight we'll be talking to Chad. And Chad spent 20 years as a military police officer. And he was out in Alabama on the military base when he had a run-in with one of these things. It's a very, very fascinating account. If you've had an encounter and you'd like to be on the show, shoot me an email. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. And if you get a chance, check out sasquatchchronicles.com. You can become a member and get additional shows. Let's jump into it tonight. I want to welcome Chad to the show. Chad, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. And I can't wait to hear this encounter in Alabama. If you would you just start from the beginning, kind of tell us what you were doing and where were you at and what happened?
Well, it was October 1996 at Fort McClellan, Alabama. And right out the gate is Anniston, Alabama. And that's the post. It's an Army post for the Military Police Corps and the Chemical Corps. That's where they used to have them at. And I was an MP for 20 years. So I went to basic training there and nothing happened. And then I came back. I was in Germany and stationed in Germany. And then they sent me to Fort McClellan for what we call BNOC, which is just a basic non-commissioned officer training. And I used to run a lot back then, like quite a bit on my own. You run for the Army, but then I like to run. That was my thing. Get rid of the stress and whatnot. And I remember one night we got out of class and I went and had something to eat. And I was sitting there and decided to go for a run. And it was about 30 minutes before dark. It was getting there, So right across from our barracks, there's this beautiful road to go straight out into the woods. It's just arrow straight. I don't know how long it is, but I never hit the end of it. So it was perfect. You just run out. And I used to run for time. I'd go out 20 minutes and come back 20 minutes. So, and there's like no intersections or nothing. You just go straight out and back. And on each side of the road, there was a berm, from making the road or whatever. And as I'm going out on my right side, the berm's like 3 feet high, and then the woods kind of go down. So really all I can see is the berm and the trees farther out because it kind of cuts down out of my vision. But so I'm going for a run and put my headphones on, and you just kind of go to another world, like you're not even on the planet. You just tune out and try and find the endorphins and go. And I was probably about 15 minutes in. I was doing 20 minutes out, 20 back. I was about 15 minutes in, and I just started to feel weird. I just had this weird feeling. And I pulled out my headphones, popped them out, had like earbuds in. So I popped them out, and I finished up the 20 minutes. I got to the end, and I could hear something in the woods over to my right. And now as I came back, it's on my left. And normally what I would do is just hit the end and turn and burn and come back. But this had me curious. There was something out there, I could hear it cracking, or I could hear a movement, and I could just feel something was out there. Like it just hit me. I took off my headphones. I couldn't hear anything before my headphones. I popped them out because I felt something. And so I just started walking back slow because I wanted to do the situational awareness thing where you look and you listen and see what's going on before you make any, decisions. But I was just slowly walking back, listening, and I could hear some rustling because you have the trees and then you have the base down there. The leaf base, there's like probably 4 inches of packed dead leaves and whatnot. And when something walks on that, it's pretty hard not to make some kind of noise. And I could just barely hear something. And I noticed what I was hearing was like an echo of my footsteps. which is so bizarre when you're in the woods and you're in that environment, because there was nothing really, it wasn't really anything to echo, like the sound didn't work like that out there.
Yeah.
It was just, there was nothing to bounce off of. It was just trees, and if you scream real loud, you might get something, a little bit of an echo, but your footsteps don't echo, I'm like, this is so weird. So then I would stop, and then the echo would stop, and I would start, and immediately it was dead on. I was like, damn, this is so weird. And I'm kind of a jackass. So I'm like, all right, well, let's see what this thing can do, So I would take off about 5 or 6 steps, like fast, and then stop and see and listen and see if I could, hear anything. And I had to do that probably 3 times before whatever was over there screwed up. And then I heard it, the extra step. And I was like, oh my God, there is something over there. And it's mirroring what I'm doing. Like, my mind is just going a mile a minute. Like, at first, my first thought possibly was in my head was maybe I became, and I'm no big woodsman, mind you. So, like, I spent my entire life in the woods. That's not me, I spent my life getting shot at, but not in the woods. But I was thinking maybe it's like, maybe it's a coyote or something, curious. But there was a few things wrong with that. It was obviously a biped, because it was matching my steps, and it was matching my steps. So it kind of limits, what's going to do that. So I was like, oh my God. So when I heard the extra step, that was just like this huge red flag went up with like, it's on, So there was so much I didn't know, but there was a lot I did know. And what I did know is I was 3 miles from the cantonment area. I was by myself. It was getting dark. Something was about 25 meters away from me in the woods, and it thought I was very interesting. And none of that was anything that I liked. So I started running. I took off running. And at the time I was really a runner. And I think I told you the week before that, we had a competition run with all of the students, and everybody there is pretty good shape. I mean, I think I don't know, I was probably like 25 years old. And you run 3 times a week, and you do push-ups and sit-ups. And so all of my peers were in good shape too. And out of we did a competition run the week before, 160 people, and I was the first one to finish. So I was a pretty serious runner at the time. So I figured whatever this thing was, I was going to give it a run, puke up a lung, or die trying before it got a hold of me. So I started running back, and I did not put my headphones back in, obviously. I wanted to have situational awareness. And man, it was so good at mirroring my steps. It was unbelievable. It probably once every minute and a half, I would hear a crack. And it would be a muffled crack. So this was telling me, like, this thing, if it's breaking a stick or like a good sized stick, it wasn't an obvious one. It was stepping perfectly around things, over things. And if it broke something, it was in the underscrub that it couldn't see. So it would take a step and crack a branch that was buried. So it'd come across and I could hear it, but it would be muffled because it was buried, But that's how good this thing was. It was unbelievable. And I think I might have stopped one more time just because I couldn't believe that this is happening. I'm like, this is not happening. Something is over there. And from where the cracks and the sounds and the rustles were coming, which were very, very limited. I mean, very limited, but they were there. And I could still feel this thing, I mean, when somebody's looking at you, and this was like, I felt like there was like 20 people looking at me. It was so much stronger than your normal, oh, I think somebody's checking me out, way worse than that. And so I did it one more time, and I don't remember if I heard a crack or not. And I was thinking, why are you stopping running, jackass? You need to go. And on the way out, I got out there in 20 minutes. I bet I got back in about 17 minutes. I had the adrenaline going. And I had a heart rate monitor on. I always ran with a heart rate monitor. And normally my 2 mile time, I would run at 180 beats per minute was where I'd get up to it real quick, hold it there. And then you don't have to worry. It takes your mind out of the run as far as the 2-mile run, because you just look at your watch, it's like your RPMs go, and you just hold it there, and what you get is what you get. It's going to be your best run time. And this particular time, as I'm coming back, I think I was running about 190. I have my heart rate going about 190 until the very maybe last 200 meters, and I was all in, like all in. And I was either going to throw up or I was going to make it, And it kind of occurred to me, like, this thing was so fast and so quiet. And the entire time it was watching me because it knew my footsteps and it was mirroring that. And just to be able to do that is just astounding.
Yeah. What did you think it was at the time?
See, initially I thought, animal, coyote or something. But then when it started mirroring my footsteps, I was like, holy shit, this thing is intelligent and devious, because who does that, and curious. And obviously, and honestly, I didn't know. And I always knew about Bigfoot, oh yeah, Bigfoot you see on TV or whatever. I was not really like a big fan of Bigfoot, but I was aware of that as a thing, right? But here I am in Alabama, and that is like one of the last places I would expect to see Bigfoot, or I did, like I still don't know what this thing was, but it blew me away. So when I was really kicking it out on that last like 200 meters, it also picked it up, but it was also like it was making extra noise because it knew the end was coming. It knows the area, I'm sure, and the road kind of comes to a T, and right at the T across the street is the barracks where I stay at. And I flew in, I got to the T at the road, and I stopped and I turned around. I wanted to see this thing so bad, and I couldn't see it the whole time, which just didn't make any sense because it's flanking me 25 meters out to my left, and I should have a visual on it. And it obviously had a visual on me. I mean, it obviously did, because it was mirroring my steps so perfectly. So it's killing me. This thing can see me. I cannot see it. So I got to the end, and he came in smashing in a little bit at the very end when I picked it up. And it's kind of like he was trying to make a point, like just to let me know he was there even more, because it was the end, and think twice before coming back. That's kind of how I kind of took it.
Yeah, that's interesting. He's like, and stay out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and don't stay out. Don't come back, But man, I wanted to see him so bad. And so I turned around, and I got my hands on my knees, and I'm squinting, and I'm looking, but it's right at dusk, not good light. And the first like 10 feet of the woods is kind of like medium, as far as like trees and stuff. And then back in a little bit, it just gets thick, like crazy thick. And so I'm standing there, and I hear him smash a tree on another tree. Not like a wood knock, but like an all out. He takes something large, like, 8-inch diameter, and turns it into toothpicks. Smash. And I could hear it spray into the foliage, the leaves and stuff. And he did that like twice. And I was like, holy crap, what is this thing? And I'm looking, and I see legs. There's an opening. And just in that opening, I can see him from the waist down, or really about the top of the thighs down, waist down, right in that area. I can't see his upper body at all. And it kind of blew me away, because I'm expecting at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm in Alabama, but damn, this has got to be Bigfoot. Like, So I know what I'm expecting to see. In my mind, Bigfoot is, 8 feet tall, and he's like brownish red and shaggy, and, so I'm looking for this thing. And I look over there. That is not what I see. I see these cream-colored legs that are as tall as I am. And I'm 6 feet tall, 6'1", and these legs are as tall as I am. And it's getting dark, so I can't see. I'm kind of squinting. I'm trying to see the like shagginess. I'm trying to make myself see a damn Bigfoot is what I'm doing. But I'm looking, and I see the legs, but I don't see the fur on the legs that I'm expecting. I just can't see it. I don't know if it's the light or what it is, but for whatever the case is, I'm just telling you what I saw. There was these long 6-foot legs, and they were thinner than I expected they would be. And they're over there. And then I could see him moving, walking, the knees are bending, and he turns, and it's like he figured out I could actually see him just then, like see his bottom half. And it's like, oh no. So he turns and he starts walking into the woods. And I'm like, what in the hell is this thing? Well, I was definitely done with him. And I figured he was done with me, but I was wrong. But I was like, that's it. I've had enough. Whatever you are, some crazy Billy Bob, I don't know what. So I'm going into the barracks. I'm done with this. So I go inside, shower, whatever. And kind of really just marked it up. I've had some weird stuff happen to me, and I kind of take it in stride. And this was pretty weird, but I was able to be like, okay, whatever. It was what it was. I'm going to bed. I got stuff to do in the morning.
Did you tell anyone when you went back?
But no. And I had a roommate, but what are you going to tell him? Nobody's going to believe that, and it was just so bizarre. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. Like the whole thing didn't. He's seriously 25, 30 meters off my left flank. He, without a doubt, can see everything that I am doing. Everything. He can move with me. I'm running probably a 5.5 minute mile on the way back. And that's pretty good. And he is not. I can't even hear him breathing. Like I can't even hear him working over there. So that is pretty impressive.
And so what happens next? I mean, it is weird. It is strange, but you hear encounters like this a lot with people who are paced out, and they'll talk about being mirrored out. They don't see what it is, but something, when I stop, it stops. When I move, it moves. And you're right, they do mess up every once in a while. You'll hear them take an extra step, or you'll do something they're not expecting. So you go to bed for the night, but what happens next?
Yeah, so I'm done with this. This is like, hey, great experience, tell the grandkids. And I still don't know what it was. Like, at the time, I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, that was so crazy, right? It wasn't until years later when I heard, like you said, all the classic stories of people being flanked and maneuvered. And I was like, oh, my God. That's when it kind of hit me, like, that's what this thing is. That's what it was, But anyway, so the next morning, get up early, and we had physical training. And we walked down. I go out my building, right out the front that I came in, right out to the street that I was standing in looking for this guy, and make a left with everybody else. There's like 150 of us. And we're all wearing the same thing. Wearing the black shorts and the gray T-shirt says Army on it, short haircuts. It's pretty tough to tell one from the next. And then, so I make a left on that street. I walk down about a quarter of a mile, and that's where we're meeting. We're meeting in this church parking lot that's right next to the wood line, but it's a nice little parking lot. When we break into run groups, by ability or whatever, and then we each individually stretch out and then go for a run. Well, for whatever reason, my group was slow. Like, it wasn't planned. It wasn't on purpose. I wasn't thinking about this thing. I was doing my thing. And I wasn't in charge of the group either. So I was just sitting there. We were stretching out. Every other run group had left the parking lot. So there's 10 of us sitting there doing, just stretching out. I guess we were tired, hadn't got at it real quick. And then all of a sudden, this thing starts putting on a show. And I still didn't say anything to the people that were there, like, oh, I heard this thing was messing with me yesterday or whatever, because it just didn't, I don't know. It just was just too bizarre. But he starts smashing trees, putting to shame his display from the evening before, picking up timber and turning it into toothpicks, just smashing it, one against the next, smash, 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 just continually doing this. And he's not making a noise. Like, I don't hear him grunting. I don't hear any vocalizations. It is so bizarre. And everybody walks to the back corner, all 10 of us. We get out of formation. We're like, what in the hell is this? So we go to the back formation. We're all standing on the curb, lined up, all 10 of us like idiots, standing there in a row, looking into the forest or into the woods, trying to see what is decimating, what hates trees so much. Because he's in there killing some trees.
Yeah.
Like, he's just in there like, man, this dude really hates trees, And they're exploding. And I've thought about this. I can't even come up with like a machine that would be able to exert that kind of force and power to just vaporize a tree. It was impressive, to say the least. And people are like, what is that thing? What is that thing? It took us about 5 minutes. And he was going on, like, routinely. And for a second there, the only thing that flashed through, I'm like, what animal could do this? And just for a second, I was thinking maybe like a bull moose, like swinging its head. But it didn't match up with what we were hearing, But it was that kind of power, like, just unbelievable. And so after 5 minutes or so, that was that. We all kind of came to our senses at the same time. What the hell are we doing here? Do we want to know what this thing is? No, we don't. Because we're pretty sure that he could come out here and end us, without even breaking a sweat. So we, like I said, all at the same time, we were like, yeah, this is not a good idea. So we got back in formation and we left quickly. And when we came back, there was nothing. And the whole time I was there, I didn't hear anything after that. So
what an encounter. I don't know what, God, those guys must have been so terrified. I've been like, I'm going back to the barracks, but I guess you can't do that when
everybody was so surreal. Like, what is in there? Just smashing trees. Nothing that we could think of fit the profile of an animal it just didn't work, It was so crazy. And then we never talked about it. Like, you just roll with it. We're like, man,
Yeah, it's weird.
For 2 more months, didn't come up again,
Yeah, it's so strange. I mean, I've talked to MPs before in the past on the show, and I know there's the place out in California. I can't remember the name of the base, but I talked to an MP out there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we see them all the time. They come across." He goes, "We can't stop them from coming on base."
Sure.
And he goes, "At some point, I mean, what do you really write in a report? You know what I mean?" And so they just kind of stop reporting it, but he goes, we see them all the time out here. They're on base. They're in areas that are restricted, and it's bizarre. Tell me about, so you were in Iraq with the gold?
Yeah, I was in Iraq. I was out of Germany on the first rotation, OAF-1. So we were there like April 2003. We got sent there and attached to 173rd Airborne Division. And we're a bunch of legs, so that doesn't go over real good at first. That means that we don't jump out of planes. We wait for them to land. And they like to jump out of them when they're in the air. Anyway, we're their MPs now because they didn't decide to bring any. And they attached us. So we're running their detainment facility. We go and set up this detainment facility because you get people you want to detain. And we were running it initially for the first few months. And we had an area set up for people they come in with vehicles. So we had an impound lot set up for vehicles and then an evidence intake thing. And I was going out there to check on my guys. And there's a few vehicles in the lot. We didn't get a lot of vehicles. So I was like, oh, what's this? And one of the things that was sitting there was this big dump truck. Big old school dump truck cover, on the back of it. And I asked one of my guys, I'm like, hey, what's this? He's like, oh, that's weird. He said they went through a checkpoint and we had one of the rules was you could have one AK-47 to protect yourself, if you were a local, if you were an Iraqi and we stopped you and you had one AK-47, you were cool. Like, we're like, hey, nice gun. We send you on your way. But if you have two AK-47s, then you're a threat. We didn't make the rules, but those were the rules.
Seems like a weird rule.
Yeah. So these guys come through a checkpoint and they're driving this dump truck, and they each had an AK-47. Well, if they'd had one AK-47, they would have got waved through the checkpoint and sent down the road. But these two jokers got snatched up because they had two. And so they took the truck and they brought it to the containment facility and they had it parked there. And I'm like, yeah, what's the deal with the dump truck? And my guy goes, yeah, it's full of these bronze bars. And I'm just like, oh, man, bronze bars, huh? He's like, yeah, these bronze bars. And I'm considering the source. I don't know about this guy's balls. I'm not saying what his name was. But he's the same guy like 2 weeks earlier. We had the acting Secretary of Defense coming in and we had to secure him. And this guy asked which movie he was in. So he's not the sharpest MP.
Yeah.
So when he's talking about bronze bars, I'm like, hey, why don't you take me over there and show me that? So we get there and he throws back it's covered, so it's kind of dark in there. He throws it back and it didn't take long. And I had attached the picture on your site. They don't look like, it's not Hollywood looking gold. It's pretty shaggy looking gold, but it's gold. And I was like, oh my God. And it was all piled in the back of this thing, just piled in there. We had ended up stacking it nice, like in the photo, to get a count, see what we had. So I brought it up to called it up to the 173rd and said, hey, we got this pile of gold here. What do you want me to do with it? I did not want it because nothing's going to come from that but headaches and problems. So they were all thrilled about it. They were like, oh yeah, great. Bring that on up here. Took me about a day, and then they were all over it. And so I had it driven up, and parked right in front of their talk, and gave them the keys, and good luck to you. So probably 4 hours later, I get a call on my field phone. Hey, you guys going to come back here and get this dump truck? I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, we got people stealing gold out of it. I'm like, are you kidding me? You've had it 4 hours. You have all these infantrymen over there. You can't secure a dump truck? And they're just like, it is set in now that this is no longer a novelty. It's a huge pain in the ass, you know? So they're like, come get your dump truck. So we go over there and secure the dump truck, figure out who had taken some guy running a Fox vehicle. This chemical vehicle just walked off with like a half a bar of gold, which is about 15 pounds of gold. So we went and got that back, snatched him up, and then counted it out because we wanted to know what we had. You don't know what's missing unless you know what you got, you know?
Right, yeah.
So that took a while. Took it all out, put it back in, and we had 1,001 bars of gold in that dump truck.
Makes you wonder where they're getting the gold over there. Because I've heard stories like this. I mean, I know I had Talon on and he was talking about it last week, but I've had other soldiers tell me that, you know, that I wonder where they're getting all the gold from over there, just from Saddam's stash, or?
I think they got it from people. They stole it from people. They melted it down. It wasn't pretty. Like, it was not pretty gold. It was hastily taken, melted from some other source or form, you know, and put into like almost bread tin type things, the little bricks. And most of them were complete. Most of them were complete. And if it was a 30-pound brick, like a complete bar. And everybody has two jobs over there, like the actual Iraqis and people. And our commander's translator was also, before the war, you know, I mean, they could be anything. They could be a doctor, they could be an engineer, and now they're, you know, cleaning something. So it's kind of sad. But this guy was a jeweler. So he went and checked out the gold and declared that it was 18 karat gold, which is pretty good quality gold. And I think I did up the math on it. So you have 1,000 bars and 30 pounds of gold, and then, you know, what's it worth an ounce or whatever? It worked out to something like $180,000 a bar.
Wow.
Which is so. And then, so we had that truck, and then they want to get rid of it because the longer it sits there, man, we got to guard that thing. I mean, you can't just leave it there because if the gold's going to walk away, I mean, it's gonna. And I didn't care if people stole the whole thing, but they're going to get in trouble trying to send it home, and people are going to get hemmed up, you know, when they didn't need to be. So we guarded it, and then they came and got it, and they flew it to Kuwait is what they did with it. I don't know what happened to it after that. But 1 week later, we got another one. We got 2 of those things just by dumb luck. Same thing. 2 guys came through, AK-47s, got one too many. If those guys would have had one AK-47, we would have sent them down the road with over $1 billion in gold if they'd had one AK-47. So I don't think we weren't looking for it. We didn't even know what to do with it when we got it. I mean, really, it just, they were trying to get it out of the country is what they were doing. Yeah. I don't even know where it was going or where they were getting it out to, but that's just the stuff we stumbled on that just happened to roll through our checkpoint. So how many loads didn't come through a checkpoint? How many loads got through, you know?
Yeah.
Would we stop maybe 5%, maybe, you know, I don't know. That's a lot of gold.
There was no moment where I was like, what are you fellas transporting here? Oh, gold. I see 2 AK-47s, don't you, Bill?
It was, yeah. And what are those guys doing? Like the guys driving it? How do you get picked for that?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Jesus. I wouldn't want that job.
Yeah. Now the UFO that you saw over there, was that in Iraq or was that stateside?
No, that was stateside. And the only reason I brought it up was because when you had Talon on, he was talking about it, and it was so close to like his description of what it was. His was by like the Queen Mary or whatever, but mine. So here's my stupid UFO story, but it totally happened. So I'm 11 years old. I'm in northern Minnesota, Ogama, Minnesota, and right outside of not right outside, but within about 15 miles, this White Earth Indian reservation. So we're pretty far up north there, and there's nothing to do in the summertime except for going swimming in one of the like 5 or 6 lakes that are around my house there. So I'm riding to Strawberry Lake, and I'm probably 3 miles from my house, and it's a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky, wind's blowing probably about 15 miles an hour, and I'm going around this big, wide banking right-hand corner, and it's like if you're in a car, you can do 60, 70 miles an hour around that corner on the road, no problem. But on my right-hand side, there's a wheat field, and the wheat is just blowing, and the wind is just beautiful. And then all of a sudden, something happens. Like, I stop the bike. I'm like, what is going on? You get this. I couldn't identify what the change was, but there was some crazy change. And I'm like, what is this? And I stop. And I'm standing there, and I look over at the field, and it's not blowing. There's no wind. Like, it's like I'm inside of a bubble almost. Like you walk into a room now. There's no wind noise. There's no bird noise. It's just like everything just stopped. And I'm looking around, like, what is this? What is going on? And I look up, and there's a disc above me. And I'd say it's about 350, 400 feet in the air. And it's a perfect disc, like a silver, metallic, silvery circle. That's all I can see. I can't see any seams, any buttons, any imperfections, any bolts, nothing like that. It's perfectly smooth. And I'm looking at it, and it doesn't sit there for long. And then all of a sudden, it changes shape from a perfect circle into a cigar. And as it's happening, at first I'm like, Jesus, that thing's changing shape. And then I realized what was happening was it wasn't. It was rotating. It was rotating from flat to, it was showing me its edge. So when it was showing me its edge, it went full. It looked just like a cigar. I mean, it did for all the world. It looked like a cigar from that angle. And it sat there for maybe a second. And then I don't even think accelerating is the right word to use. It just instantaneously, there was no acceleration. There just was and then wasn't. It was sitting there to stop, and then all of a sudden, it was doing several thousand miles an hour and out the skyline. I could probably see 3-4 miles to the horizon from where I was at my vantage point, and this thing was off of it in less than a second. It was just like, choo! And you could see it go, You know, you ever shoot a gun with a big bullet? Like, I don't know, like a Mark 19, you probably haven't, but we have these grenade launchers and they shoot this big 40 millimeter, and it's hauling ass, but you can still see it go. And that's what this thing was doing. Instantaneously, it was just gone. And then it was, and here's the crazy part, like that's not crazy enough. So it's gone for maybe like 5 seconds, and I'm sitting there going, what the hell was that? You know, at 11. And all of a sudden, the wind picked up. Like whatever bubble was blocking everything, it was just gone, and whoosh. And the wheat started to flow again. And, you know, and then typical fashion for me, I was like, jumped on my bike and went swimming. So it was pretty crazy. But when Talon was talking about it, it was pretty similar how it was sitting there doing nothing, making no sound. And it didn't make any sound the entire time. Not one sound. So that was pretty crazy.
That is crazy, man. That's really crazy. And did you ever see anything weird like that over in Iraq or anything odd? You know, I know Talon talked about the jinn, which is like equivalent to, I guess, like demons. Well, you know, well, I don't know if that's really equivalent, but you know what I mean. Was there any stories like that over there? Or did you ever hear anything strange while you were over there?
The only thing we had that was weird, and it was, I'm sure everybody experienced it, they have these dust devils that pop up. Right. And if you're in a helicopter, you can see, I don't know, you'll see sometimes 20 of them, and they're big and thin and like big, like tornado big, but they're slow moving, you know, they're just like, they're slower, but they will pop up out of nowhere. And we're walking with this Navy guy, and we call him Ewo. He was our one Navy guy in a whole battalion full of MPs. He was our electronic warfare officer. And so we're walking back from dinner, and one pops up and starts coming at us. And Ewo starts running. We're like, Ewo, don't run. Like, you don't run. Because if you do, it seems to chase you. I mean, no kidding. If you just stand your ground, it'll get you where it won't. But if you run, it's like it's drawn to you. And there was poor Ewo. Off he runs. We're all yelling, Ewo, don't run. It got him. Chased him down. Got him. And every orifice was full of sand. He's sand in his ears and his nose and his mouth. It messed him up pretty good. And we thought it's hilarious. We're like, Ewo, you never run. But
that is pretty funny, man. That's hilarious.
That's about it as far as anything supernatural over there. I didn't really come across anything.
Did you ever hear rumors of the dogs over there, the black dogs? Just out of my own curiosity.
I had deemed the dead Iraqi dog, like that's the national animal, was the dead Iraqi dog, because they were everywhere, like everywhere. They hated dogs, but I didn't see a lot of them that were alive on purpose. Just the ones that got on post, and then we took care of them, you know. But yeah, they didn't like the dogs at all.
Well, yeah, no, I was talking about something else. It seems to be some weird paranormal thing. I've heard a couple soldiers talk about it offline, about these weird big black dogs over there. But anyway, it's yeah. Well, I have you. I'm curious, Chad. What do you think Sasquatch is? I like to ask everyone. What's your opinion?
Going off of my personal experience, I've been thinking about this, right? So there's really two schools of thoughts. There's is he the flesh and bone, or is he like a spiritual thing, you know? And I don't think he's either, honestly. I think he's flesh and bone, but so when I'm running, right, this is my personal experience. That's all I know. So I'm running. There's this thing. If his legs are 6 feet high when I'm seeing him, that means he's 10 or 12 feet high, right? Unless he's just a 6 foot pair of legs running around the woods, which, you know, that's crazy. But so he's got to be at least, let's say, 10 feet high. And he's running 25 feet or 25 meters from me. And I can't see him, but he can see me. And so if something you can't see it, but it can see you, and that consistent and that distance and through there, that makes me kind of think, really, it makes me think tech. That's what comes into my mind.
When you say tech, what do you mean?
Like technical capability. Like, he's huge. There's no way I can't see this thing. And he has a dead eye on me the entire time. So I'm thinking, it just makes me think tech. Like, You know, if I had to make a wild guess, I'd say these things are the ground units, you know, and they're implanted with tech. That's my wild guess. So that makes them less visible, camouflage, and when they get killed, you know how we can't find a body? Oh, you never found a body. That's just like your cat. You get your cat chipped. Man, that thing gets run over and someone picks it up. They know whose cat it is. So when these things die, they just come and get it. You know, it's chipped. They just come and get that thing. You're not going to find a body.
Interesting. Yeah, I never heard anyone say that before. So do you think they're more, for lack of a better term, alien in nature?
I don't know. I think they're probably from here or a product of here, but they've been enhanced and they're being used. That's my wild guess, you know, as a ground unit. So like if you're a 4-foot tall alien or smaller, right, and you want to do some ground reconnaissance, just logistically, it's not a good idea. They're tiny, you know, they're very vulnerable. So you need some assistance from somebody. So I think that they probably get these other guys and they have like a symbiotic relationship and they help each other out. So they can run around and do experiments, or they can do tests or temperature, or, you know, whatever research they need them to do on the ground that they're capable of doing, blending in. They're great for recon, I can tell you that, because you can't see them. And they can get right up on you. And they're almost invulnerable. So I'd rather have that going on if I was a 4-foot alien. Definitely that'd be my go.
Yeah, it makes sense. I never thought about it like that before. I mean, you could be onto something. There's definitely, I mean, I don't think a normal animal could keep up with you the way this thing kept up with you. You put a chimp out there, it's not going to be able to pace you like that. It's not going to be able to keep
no
up
way.
That, you know,
there's no way. And a person couldn't have done it in the rough like that and kept up and watched me. And this is totally out there, but we're already out there, so we might as well stay. But years later, I did the me and 23 thing, you know, the DNA.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I was always like, why? I get it. So I'm in this guy's woods and he chases me out of them. I got it. Okay, no problem. Whatever. That's easy to understand. So why did he stick around all night, wait for me, see me, track me to the parking lot? You know, there's 150 people there, whatever. He knows I'm still there. Everybody leaves except for 10 people. I'm one of them, and he gets pissed off and starts smashing trees because I'm not leaving fast enough. Right? Why? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, the DNA thing, me and 23, this is just a thought. They sent a thing back and it said, my Neanderthal DNA, they give you this cool little thing. They're like, your Neanderthal DNA is, they tell you what percentage you are out of everyone who's ever been tested through them. And mine is higher than 83% of the people that were tested. So it's pretty high. So I don't know if he could smell that. I don't know. But it was just a thought.
No, it is. Actually, have you heard that theory about why they're doing that? They're keeping track of everyone's DNA. And if you go down the rabbit hole with, I try and not go too much into too many conspiracies because I think some things can be explained, but that one's kind of a weird one. Like, are they looking for a bloodline? Are they looking for, why are they keeping all that information? You know what I mean? Why are they building this database on you?
Yeah, it's curious. And I was just trying to come up with any reason why I was so interesting to this guy. I'm pretty damn sure I didn't outrun him. I mean, I was running like a fool, but he wasn't even sweating, you know? It wasn't like, oh, no, someone's finally outrun me. Yeah, I don't think so. You know?
Yeah,
and I didn't cause much of a stink either. I just ran out there, turned, tried to see him, and went in the building. But so that's the only thing wild guess I could come up with was he's like, oh, damn, we got a caveman out here. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, it was muted out. I was laughing. I almost fell over in my chair when you were talking about how this guy hates trees.
Yeah, this guy really hates trees.
Yeah, it's and you know, you hear about the government saying that they don't know, or they tend to say they don't know anything about this. They've slipped up a few times through history, but then you have them on military bases, and then you have guys who report it. I know you didn't report it, but a lot of guys report it on the military base, and most of the time they regret reporting it because it never goes well. You know what I mean?
I honestly, at the time, did not know, still didn't know what it was. Like, that is so bizarre to me. I still was not thinking full on Bigfoot. I wasn't, because the Alabama thing threw me off. And then his legs, they were like a cream color, like a cream or a white. And I couldn't see him real shaggy, so it just had me looped. I didn't know what to think. And then years later, I'm looking it up, and we were talking about this. That area is famous for white thing, the albino type Bigfoot, like in that area, like a family tree of them or whatever. So I was like, oh, sheesh, that kind of makes sense. The cream color, the light color fur, maybe it's albino, maybe it's an old dude. I don't know. But he could sure run for an old guy.
Yeah, and I think that throws some people off when they have an encounter because they're expecting to see Patty, or kind of a reddish brown.
Exactly.
Or black. And then when they see a white or one that's more of a tan, I've heard battleship gray. I've heard a lot of different colors. I think it throws people off because it's not what they're kind of like when you were looking through. They're like, well, maybe this is Bigfoot. And then all of a sudden it wasn't black or it wasn't reddish brown. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was trying to see Bigfoot. Like, I'm not even lying. I'm looking through. I'm like, where's Patty? And I see these thin cream colored legs, and I didn't see a lot of fur because it was dark, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it was crazy. It's like they don't have social media. They don't know what they're supposed to look like,
They don't have Instagram. Yeah.
What's up with that?
There's one, I'll have to dig this up for you and send it to you. I saw it years back. I can't remember the guy's name, and hopefully the listeners will help me out. But he was a real, he dealt with UFOs and he dealt with aliens, and he was a real guy. I mean, he had a legitimate guy that worked for the government. And he eventually came out. I think he was dying or he was an old man. I remember him giving a speech, and they asked him, have you dissected aliens? And he goes, only one. And they were like, well, what did it look like? Was it like your typical gray alien? And I never forget his comment. I almost fell out of my chair when I watched this. This was probably a year or two ago I watched it. He said, no, it reminded him of Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, what? And the audience kind of laughed, and he was straight-faced. He was like, I'm not joking. This isn't a joke. He was like, it reminded him of Chewbacca from Star Wars. It was not a gray alien, but he said it was an alien. And so going on your theory, regardless, whether you believe they're an alien or an ape, or if it's an ape, it's a very strange ape. But there's something more going on with these things that doesn't add up. There's a lot of weird things that don't add up with what.
That's why we can't figure it out. That's because we're just like, our minds work like that, right? So it's either flesh and blood, period, or it's foo-foo, period. Well, no, not period or period. It's definitely flesh and blood, without a doubt. It is, because there's evidence of that. But yeah, my theory is there's tech involved that they're being used as pawns. And you know how the stories like the lady shot him, and he disappeared in a flash of light. Tech. He was out of commission, so they returned him. That's my theory, and it's the only thing that really makes sense. Nothing makes sense, but when you apply that, a lot more things make sense, like why there's no bones, why there's no carcasses, because they are found, they're retracted. They take them and dispose of them. They manage them.
Wouldn't it be a lot more fun if it was just an ape?
Man, that'd be pretty cool, but I think we'd have found him by now. See, maybe that's it. Maybe we're just pretending it's more than an ape because we're too incompetent to just find the ape. So we got to make excuses.
Yeah, I'd like
Damn
to
thing
believe
must
that.
have fell out of a starship. If it was an ape, I could have found it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, hopefully one day we'll find it, but I appreciate you coming on, Chad. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I know you've had a lot more weird things happen to you, and you'll be on Strange Familiars with Timothy Renner with some of more of the paranormal stuff, so I'll be looking forward to that. Tim does a great job with that show, so...
Yeah, I've been listening. I hadn't listened to him. I just started like this week, and I'm kind of getting into him. I was like, okay, I like this.
Yeah, Tim's a good man.
Yeah.
Tim's a good man. You'll like him a lot, but I can't wait to hear more of the weird paranormal. It'll be a good match for his show. So, but thank you for coming on here, Chad. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and just share what happened to you, man.